Every footstep you are about to hear was recorded illegally. If they find this footage, everyone you will meet is already dead. I need you to lean closer to the speaker now, because what I'm about to tell you could vanish before this sentence ends. I was the last person to touch that oxygen tank before it rolled. My fingers, still trembling from the climb down the embankment, felt the metal ridges where they'd hollowed it out, just enough to cradle the 360-degree rig. I remember thinking how absurd it was that a life-saving device might now become a death sentence. The border is quieter at 3:12 in the morning than any silence you've ever known. You can hear your own pulse in that silence, like a drum the guards could follow if they just listened hard enough. And somewhere above us, infrared drones were listening. M's voice crackled in my earpiece. No, not crackled. It shattered the night like dropped glass. They patrol every 90 seconds, she whispered. But the river bends here. You have 19 heartbeats before they swing back. 19. I counted them. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3. I shoved the tank. It slid. It rolled. It sank just enough to float. I held my breath, like that would keep it afloat. Ridiculous, right? But when you're smuggling truth across a river that swallows people whole, superstition is the only life jacket you get. M's diary began with a click. If you're hearing this, she said, I'm already on the other side, or I'm already gone. I hated how calm she sounded, like she'd rehearsed dying. The drone swept overhead, invisible except for the sudden hush they dragged behind them. Their infrared eyes painted the world in ghost colors. For a moment I swore they saw the heat of my fear steaming off my coat. I waded in, up to my waist. The river was colder than regret. Each step felt like walking into a memory I'd never escape. M's voice kept talking, steady, like she was walking beside me. The camera is rolling. Whatever happens, keep it level. The world needs to see the iron veil from inside. Easy for her to say. She wasn't the one about to freeze to death for a shot no one might ever watch. Halfway across, the tank bobbed, then dipped. I lunged, fingers numb, and grabbed the rim. Metal scraped my palm. The pain felt honest, like the universe reminding me I was still alive. M's voice shifted, tighter now. They're looping back early. My heart tried to climb out through my throat. I counted again, 4 Mississippi, 5. But the rhythm was wrong, too fast, like a record spinning off center. I pushed the tank the last body length. It crunched onto the opposite shore just as the drone spotlight flared. For one impossible second, the entire river lit up like daylight in hell. I dove flat, pressing my face into cold mud that tasted of iron and algae. Silence returned, heavier than before. I crawled, belly to earth, dragging the tank by a paracord loop. M's voice was barely a breath. You're inside now. The iron veil has closed behind you. From this point forward, every sound is evidence, every shadow a witness, and every heartbeat a countdown. I clicked the rig awake. The camera began to record a world that was never meant to be seen. My own pulse thudded against the microphone like a war drum. Somewhere ahead, a dog barked once, sharp, disciplined. M whispered, Checkpoint 2. We have maybe 4 minutes before the shift change. 4 minutes to disappear inside a country that erases people by sunrise. I tightened the strap across my chest, felt the rig settle between my shoulder blades like a second, heavier heart. The iron veil wasn't a metaphor anymore. It was barbed wire, barking dogs, and the knowledge that if they caught me, this recording would die with me. But here's the thing. I'm still breathing. And as long as that red light stays on, the story keeps moving. M's last words before we lost signal echo in my ear. When you reach the market square, look for the woman selling cigarettes. She'll have the next map. The market square is still 3 miles north, and dawn is already bleeding across the sky. I start walking. Behind me, the river forgets I was ever there. Ahead, the iron veil opens just wide enough for one smuggled lens, and not a second wider. If they catch me now, you'll never know what I saw beyond that wall. But if I make it to the market square, well, that's where chapter 2 begins. The floorboards above me creak like old bones, and I freeze with one knee still in the dust. A single drop of sweat rolls off my chin and vanishes into the attic's darkness. I am no longer walking toward the market square. I am already past it, folded into a secret pocket beneath the roof of a safe house no map has ever named. Dawn never reached me here. Instead, a red bulb glows like a warning heart, pulsing every time someone moves 2 floors below. I cradle the smuggled lens between my palms, still warm from the river crossing. It feels heavier now, as if it has begun recording memories instead of light. From a slit in the eaves, I see the city walls I once feared, now nothing more than charcoal silhouettes against a violet sky. Somewhere beyond them, the river has already forgotten my name. That feels like cheating death twice in one night. Footsteps on the stairs, soft, deliberate. I slide the lens into a hollow beam and press my ear to the floor. Whoever climbs is barefoot, the way only people who trust wood more than people move. Please be Jay. Please be Jay. The hatch lifts and a woman's face appears, half lit by the red bulb, half swallowed by shadow. She doesn't smile. Smiles cost too much here. Instead, she hands me a folded square of thermal paper, still hot from a printer hidden somewhere downstairs. First contact, she whispers, and her breath smells of metal. I unfold the square. At first, it looks like static, but the longer I stare, the more shapes emerge. Ghost white trucks on a black background, crawling like ants toward a fence drawn in thin red lines. Jay taps the paper with a fingernail trimmed so short it bleeds. 38 trucks, she says. Every mile deeper costs a life. You're looking at 38 souls. I ask how old the data is. She tilts her head, listening to something beyond the walls. 9 minutes, she answers. Satellite passes every 90 minutes. We get 6 minutes of clean feed before the next jamming cycle begins. 9 minutes ago, those trucks were still moving, and now they might already be gone, swallowed by a border that digests people whole. She crawls closer, knees silent on the dusty boards. From inside her sleeve, she pulls a stub of graphite no longer than a matchstick. Mark the map, she instructs. If you remember wrong, we both disappear. My fingers shake as I draw tiny circles where the trucks cluster thickest. The graphite squeaks like a dying bird. I apologize for the noise. She only blinks. A radio crackles downstairs, a burst of numbers, in a language neither of us speak fluently anymore. Jay stiffens. They're changing route, she says. Someone smelled the sky. She snatches the paper before the ink cools, folds it into a triangle, and tucks it inside a tin cigarette case painted with peeling cherry blossoms. I once smoked those, she admits, back when cherry blossoms were just flowers. We wait. The attic breathes around us, wood swelling and shrinking like lungs. Every creak could be a footstep. Every gust of wind could carry our scent to dogs trained on the smell of fear. I count heartbeats until the red bulb flickers, once, twice, then steadies. Jay exhales through her teeth. Signal's holding, she says, for now. She tells me her real name is not Jay, but something longer, something her mother could only pronounce when drunk on home-fermented corn. She hasn't heard it spoken aloud in 11 years. I offer to say it, but she presses 2 fingers to my lips, shaking her head. Names are maps, she says, and maps get people killed. From the same sleeve, she produces a second slip of paper, this one cooler, white, official. Coordinates. Memorize them, she orders. Burn if you must, but never write. The numbers taste like rust when I repeat them under my breath. North, east, then a decimal that feels like stepping off a cliff. I ask what waits there. She studies me for a long moment, deciding how much truth I can carry. An opening, she says finally. A place where the fence forgets to be cruel for exactly 47 seconds. But only if the trucks arrive on schedule. If they're late, the opening seals and we lose another harvest of hope. Her voice cracks on the word harvest, and I realize she still dreams in seasons, even here where time is measured in jamming cycles. I ask, who drives the trucks? She shrugs, the motion barely visible. Volunteers, prisoners, ghosts, depends which story you believe. One driver, she adds, is her younger brother. He volunteered so she could stay behind and guide strangers like me. The debt hangs between us heavier than the lens. Somewhere below, a door closes with the soft finality of a coffin lid. Footsteps retreat. Jay lifts the hatch and listens, counting the silence like rosary beads. When she's satisfied, She motions for me to follow. We descend a ladder older than both our fears, each rung singing under our weight. The safe house kitchen smells of boiled cabbage and burnt wires. On the table sits a cracked laptop, open to a satellite feed. Black screen with a single white dot pulsing like a dying star. Jay taps the trackpad, and the dot blooms into 38 dots, moving again, slower now, as if the trucks have begun to doubt their own destination. She plugs in a pair of headphones, hands me one earpiece. I hear engines grinding through mountain passes, a lullaby of exhaustion and diesel. Somewhere in that convoy, a boy younger than my fear is steering with one hand and clutching a photograph with the other. I wonder if the photograph is of her. A timer appears on screen, 23 minutes until the fence. Jade checks her watch, then mine, syncing them with the precision of a bomb maker. When it hits 0, she says, we move. Not before, not after. I ask what happens if the trucks arrive early. She doesn't answer. Instead, she opens a drawer and removes a small glass vial filled with clear liquid. Cyanide, she says without drama. For the lens. If they take us, the story dies with us. I stare at the vial, understanding finally that every mile deeper costs more than a life. It costs the truth itself. She tucks it into my palm, folding my fingers around it like a promise. The timer ticks to 19 minutes. Jay moves to the window, lifting a corner of blackout cloth, just enough to reveal the distant fence, a line of razor wire glowing faintly under infrared floodlights. Beyond it lies a darkness so complete, it looks like a hole cut out of the world. That's where we're going, she says. Into the hole. She hands me a coat 2 sizes too large, lined with pockets deeper than secrets. In one pocket, I find a single key, warm from her body heat. Opens the gate at mile marker 7, she explains, but only once. After that, the lock learns and never forgets. I slip the key into the lining next to the cyanide, feeling the weight of impossible choices settle against my ribs. 15 minutes. The dots on screen slow even more, as if the trucks themselves are reluctant. Jay pulls a balaclava over her face, leaving only her eyes visible. Eyes that have memorized every star, but never seen a sunrise without fear. She hands me a second balaclava. Wear it, she says. Faces are maps too. I pull it on. The world shrinks to a tunnel of wool and heartbeat. Through the fabric, I hear her voice, softer now, almost tender. When we run, she says, don't look back. The fence has eyes, and they love the taste of doubt. I almost ask if she's joking, but the timer silences me. 11 minutes. She kills the laptop, plunging us into darkness absolute. For a moment, we are nothing but 2 hearts learning the same rhythm. Then her hand finds mine, guiding me toward a door I didn't notice before, hidden behind a calendar from the year 2000 and never. The knob turns without sound. Cold air rushes in, carrying the scent of pine and diesel. Outside, a narrow path snakes between abandoned greenhouses, glass panes shattered into star shapes. Each pane reflects the fence lights, turning the ground into a mosaic of warnings. We step carefully, glass crunching like bones underfoot. 9 minutes. The convoy's engines grow louder, echoing off the valley walls. I glance at Jay, but she's already moving, coat flapping like broken wings. I follow, tasting metal in the air, feeling the vial and key knocked together with every step. Ahead, the fence waits, and somewhere beyond it the hole gapes wider. 7 minutes. We reach the final greenhouse, its roof collapsed inward like a mouth mid-scream. Inside, rows of withered tomato vines hang like executed prisoners. Jay stops beside a rusted wheelbarrow, lifts the seat, and reveals a tunnel mouth barely wide enough for a body. After you, she says. I'll close the sky behind us. I hesitate, thinking of the boy in the truck, the photograph, the 38 lives rolling toward 47 seconds of mercy. Jay places a hand on my shoulder, steady as bedrock. The lens, she reminds me. It's why we're still breathing. I nod, crawl into the tunnel, and feel the world narrow to the sound of distant engines and my own blood. Behind me, the wheelbarrow scrapes back into place. Darkness swallows everything except the timer in my head. 4 minutes. 3, 2. I emerge into a concrete shaft, smelling of wet stone and fear. At the far end, A sliver of moonlight cuts across the floor like a promise waiting to be broken. Jay appears beside me, silent as smoke. 1 minute. She points upward. The ladder leads to the fence, to the hole, to whatever waits beyond the iron veil. I grip the rungs, feeling the cyanide vial press against my heart. Somewhere above, 38 trucks exhale their last mile. I climb. The rungs vibrate with the convoy's approach. At the top, a hatch waits, locked from the other side by a mechanism that will only open once. As my fingers touch the cold metal, I realize I never asked what happens after we cross. The timer in my head hits 0. Engines roar overhead, drowning every thought. I reach for the key, fit it into the unseen lock, and pause. Because for the first time, I hear something that isn't engines or fear. It's music. It's faint, impossible, drifting down from beyond the hatch, an old folk song my grandmother hummed while hanging laundry. I look at Jay. Her eyes widen behind the balaclava, reflecting the same disbelief. That song hasn't been sung here in 50 years, she says. Whoever waits above, they aren't soldiers. The engines are almost on top of us now, but the music grows louder, sweeter. I turn the key. The lock clicks open like a secret kept too long. Cold night air pours in, carrying the scent of pine and something else, something like freedom, or maybe just the memory of it. I push the hatch upward, and the story pauses here, breathless between seconds. Because what I see beyond that hatch isn't a hole or a fence or even a border. It's a choice, wearing the face of a song. And in the next chapter, you'll hear what happens when 38 trucks, 1 photograph, and a melody older than walls decide to rewrite the map. The hatch scrapes open like an old throat clearing itself after decades of silence. Cold dawn air pours in, tasting of iron and pine, and something else, something chalky that clings to the tongue. I push my head up between the potato sacks and realize the border is already behind us. The truck lurches forward, axles groaning as if apologizing for every mile. Underneath the tarp, I can feel the road change. No longer gravel, but something softer, almost silky, like walking on the inside of an hourglass. I smell burned paper, old smoke, and the faint sweetness of starch. This is the ash road. The driver muttered those 3 words back at the checkpoint, voice shaking like a loose shutter. He didn't explain, didn't have to. The name itself felt heavy enough to sink through the planks beneath me. I press my cheek to the floorboards and watch the dust swirl up between cracks. Tiny pale flecks dance in the shafts of light, refusing to settle. They remind me of snow, except snow melts. These bits just keep floating, stubborn as memory. Every kilometer or so the truck slows, and I hear low voices outside. Guards, maybe, or local cadres checking permits. Each time the driver answers with the same rehearsed cadence. Weight of potatoes, destination collective farm number 7, loyalty to the leadership eternal. Then the engine coughs back to life, and we roll on. I count heartbeats instead of minutes. 147 between checkpoints, 93 between villages, 31 between silences so complete I can hear the ash grinding under rubber, like whispered accusations. The road narrows, climbing through foothills scarred by old fires. Trees stand blackened on the ridges, their branches reaching out like scorched signatures. I realize they were probably alive last year, maybe even last month. Time here doesn't pass, it gets erased. Somewhere behind us, a horn blares twice. The driver curses under his breath, then swings the wheel hard left onto an even smaller track. Potatoes tumble against my shoulder, one bruising my ribs. Even vegetables know when to keep their heads down. We pass a sign so faded the paint has flaked into the same gray as the road. I can't read the words, but the silhouette is clear, a stylized flame above a human figure. Warning or memorial. Here, they're the same thing. The smell grows stronger. Not just smoke now, but something metallic, almost coppery. It coats the inside of my nose until every breath feels borrowed. I pull my scarf up, but the fibers just trap the taste against my lips. The sudden pothole jars the entire bed. My recorder skitters across the planks, red light blinking like a tiny alarm. I snatch it, just as the truck rolls to a stop. Engine off. Footsteps approaching. The tarp flips back. Sunlight floods in, blinding. A silhouette leans over me, hand extended. Not in greeting, but in demand. For a moment, I see the outline of a badge, the glint of a pistol grip. Then the driver's voice, calm as still water. Inspection sample. Spoiled potatoes must be discarded. The hand hesitates, then closes around 3 tubers near my head. The tarp drops again, and darkness returns like mercy. I exhale slowly, tasting sawdust and relief. The engine coughs back to life. We roll on, slower now, the road tilting downward toward a valley hidden in haze. Ash swirls thicker here, clinging to everything. I watch it coat the potatoes in a pale shroud. Even food must wear mourning colors. Through a tear in the canvas, I glimpse a low concrete building squatting beside the road. No windows, just a metal door and a chimney that still exhales the faintest thread of smoke. The driver mutters a name I can't catch. It sounds like a lullaby sung backward. The truck slows again. This time, no checkpoint, just instinct. The driver kills the engine, and for 30 seconds, the only sound is ash settling on the roof. He's listening for something only locals can hear. Then, a distant rhythmic thud, like someone beating wet laundry against stone. It echoes off the hills, steady, unhurried. My stomach knots. I know that sound. Mortar and pestle, grinding bone to powder. The driver crosses himself, not in faith but habit, then shifts back into gear. We crawl past the building, close enough for me to see dark streaks on the outer wall that could be rust or something warmer. I press record again, thumb trembling. The red light blinks twice, then steadies. Mom here, I whisper into the mic. First daylight inside. Ash Road confirmed. Source material. I trail off, staring at the dust coating my fingers. A sudden gust rocks the truck. Ash lifts in spirals, momentarily forming the shape of a person before scattering. Even ghosts here can't hold their form. The valley opens wider. Terraced fields appear, carved into hillsides like steps for giants. Each terrace is edged with the same gray mixture, glittering faintly. I realize the embankments aren't just soil, they're compacted history. We pass a wooden cart overturned beside the road. No ox, no driver, just splintered shafts and a single broken harness lying in the dust. Someone left in a hurry. A child's shoe sits upright on the verge, small and red against the monochrome. It looks freshly placed, as if waiting for a foot that will never return. I look away, but the image stays pressed against my eyelids. The road bends sharply around a boulder carved with symbols I don't recognize. Circles within circles, all pointing inward. The driver taps the dashboard twice, a private ritual, then speeds up. Ahead, the valley narrows again. A bridge appears, rickety planks suspended over a dry riverbed filled with more gray dust. No water has run here in years. As we rattle across, I peer through a gap. Far below, shapes emerge. Shoes, buttons, the glint of something metallic. The riverbed is a graveyard, wearing the clothes of the missing. On the far side, a checkpoint materializes from the haze. This one manned, rifles raised, faces hidden behind masks the color of old ash. The truck stops again. The driver hands over papers. I hold my breath, counting the seconds until the next heartbeat. One soldier circles the truck, gloved hand trailing along the tarp, feeling for irregularities. His fingers pause directly above my hiding spot. Don't move. Don't breathe. Don't even think. The moment stretches until time itself seems to creak. Then the hand moves on, papers stamped, barrier lifted. We roll forward, but the relief is partial, because ahead, the ash road splits, left toward a village that might still hold voices, right toward a facility that swallows them. The driver glances once in the mirror, eyes meeting mine for the first time. He taps the steering wheel twice, then turns right, toward the facility. I grip the recorder tighter. The red light blinks faster now, as if it too feels the shift. We're no longer crossing a border. We're crossing a threshold. And just when I think the road can't get worse, it does. The ash deepens, swallowing the tires halfway to the hubs. Each rotation sprays a fine mist that settles on my lips, tasting of endings, Ahead, the facility looms, low, endless, windowless. Smoke rises from dozens of chimneys, thin and constant. The air itself feels lighter here, as if even oxygen has learned to flee. The truck slows to walking pace. I realize the driver is giving me time to decide. Stay hidden and risk of discovery, or slip out now and disappear into the gray. I reach for the hatch. My fingers find the latch. One push, and I could vanish into the dust. But the recorder keeps blinking, demanding witness. The driver taps the brig twice, signal or warning. I hesitate. Beyond the canvas, footsteps approach, measured and heavy. Choose now, M. Choose forever. My thumb hovers over the recorder button. The footsteps stop. A voice calls out, sharp and official. The driver responds, tone steady but strained. I draw a breath thick with ash and history. The latch is cold under my palm. One more heartbeat, and I'll either step into legend or vanish into silence. The canvas ripples as someone reaches for the tie-downs. I press record, steady the mic against my chest, and wait for the sound that will decide everything. Because whatever happens next, the ash road will remember. The canvas lifts, and the ash road spills open like a wound. I step into a silence so complete it feels like the world has forgotten how to speak. My boots crunch on gravel that might once have been bone. Jay waits beside the van, face half hidden under a scarf the color of rust. He doesn't look at me, just nods toward the tree line where fog still clings like guilt. That's when I realize we're not supposed to be here, not really. He starts walking without a word, so I follow, recorder pressed against my heart like a confession. Every footstep sounds too loud, like we're arguing with the earth itself. The ash road argues back with creaks and sighs of its own. After 20 minutes, the trees thin and a clearing appears, but it's wrong. No roofs, no walls, just chimneys standing guard over nothing. I count 7, maybe 8, each one tall enough to remember smoke, short enough to forget warmth. Jay stops beside the tallest chimney and rests a hand on the soot-blackened brick. His shoulders hitch once, like a silent sob. Then he speaks for the first time since dawn. My grandmother stirred soup right here, he whispers, tapping the hollow throat of the stack. She said the smoke carried stories to the ancestors. The regime decided those stories were treason. I want to ask what happened, but the question feels obscene among these bones of houses. Instead, I click record and let the quiet speak for us both. The mic drinks in wind, distant birds, and something else, a metallic echo that might be memory. Jay leads me deeper into the ghost town. He points to a rectangle no bigger than a closet. That was the school. 1 room. 40 children. His voice cracks like old plaster. They taught us to sing about the general before we knew our own names. We find a rusted bicycle frame half buried in nettles. The front wheel is gone, but the basket remains, woven with pale plastic that once held flowers. Now it cradles only shadow and pollen. Jay kneels beside it, brushing dirt from the handlebars. My sister rode this to the market every Saturday. She traded eggs for rice and gossip. One morning she didn't come back. Neither did the market. I ask, softly, what year? He doesn't answer right away. Then, 1996, whisper. The words feel stolen, dangerous. I write nothing, just nod, storing the number inside my ribs. We move on, past a stone well caped with concrete. Jay taps the slab. They poisoned it before they left. Said if the village couldn't serve the state, it wouldn't serve anyone. He tries to smile, but it comes out crooked, like a bent nail. A scrap of fabric flutters from a nearby bush. Jay pulls it free and holds it up. A child's sleeve, sunflower pattern, dulled to rust. My cousin wore this dress the day the trucks came. He folds it small and slips it into his pocket like contraband prayer. We reach what must have been the village square. In the middle stands a single wooden post, blackened by fire, top splintered sharp. Jay circles it once, twice, then stops. They tied the loud ones here first. Taught the rest of us volume by subtraction. I feel the recorder tremble against my chest, as if it too is afraid. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barks once, then thinks better of it. Ugh, we both freeze, listening to the silence rush back in like floodwater. Jay motions me toward a cellar door lying flat on the ground. He lifts it with effort, revealing stone steps sinking into darkness. Down here, he says, voice barely air. Time kept breathing when everything else stopped. I hesitate, then follow. The air below smells of damp earth and old apples left to rot. My flashlight finds shelves lined with jars, most cracked, some still sealed. Jay lifts one jar, holds it to the weak light. Something white drifts inside, like a lazy ghost. Kimchi, he murmurs. My mother's. She buried the jars so the soldiers wouldn't taste her grief. The lid won't budge, as if the past refuses to open for strangers. We climb back into daylight, blinking like newborns. The fog is lifted, revealing more ruins stretching to the forest edge. Jay turns to me, eyes shining with unshed rain. They erased the name, the people, the smell of smoke at dusk. But they forgot the silence. That remembers everything. I ask if he wants to leave. He shakes his head. Not yet. I need to say goodbye to the well. I follow, recorder still rolling, capturing the sound of absence. At the well, he places both palms on the concrete. His lips move, but the words stay private, slipping down into poison dark. When he stands, something has left his face, a weight I can't name. We head back toward the van, shadows long and thin behind us. Halfway there, Jay stops suddenly. He points to a patch of earth freshly turned. I kneel, brush dirt aside. A tin box, army green, unmarked. Jay's breath catches. They buried the loud ones, he repeats. But sometimes the loud ones bury back. He lifts the box. It rattles. We exchange a look that tastes like copper. Whatever is inside, the ash road has waited decades to share it. And now, with the van idling in the distance and the regime's satellites gliding overhead like patient gods, we have to decide whether to open the future or bury it deeper. The tin box is still warm in my palms, like it remembers the hands that packed it. The latch creaks open a hairline, and I swear the wind itself holds its breath. Then the van's two-way crackles. Curfew in T-minus 60. That single sentence yanks us back from the brink of history and throws us into the now. We slam the lid, shove the box under the seat, and the tires spit gravel as we lurch toward the only hiding place left before the loudspeakers wake. The rain gutter above the abandoned textile plant is wide enough for the satellite rig and our nerves. We shimmy up drain pipes that haven't carried water since the famine years, metal groaning under our combined guilt. Jay goes first, cradling the tin like a newborn. Don't drop the past, he mutters. Below us, the first dog barks, a sound that crawls up the brick like claws. 8 o'clock strikes. The loudspeakers cough to life, with the same woman who's announced bedtime since the 70s. Her voice is a cracked lullaby, ordering every soul indoors. I wedge the dish between 2 broken tiles and pray the angle reaches past the jamming towers. The dog patrol passes directly beneath, tongues lolling, steam curling from their backs. Static fizzles through my earpiece, then a voice softer than moth wings. This is S. Third Defector, last seen crossing the Tumen and winter ice. She shouldn't be on this channel. Nobody should. I have visual on you, she whispers, and I have a sister still inside Pyongyang's Blackout Core. The words land like stones in a still pond. I thumb the transmit, throat dry. How are you even? She cuts me off. Shortwave relay bounced off a fishing trawler. We have maybe 9 minutes before they sweep. 9 minutes to rewrite borders. Jay curses under his breath and flips the tin box open at last. Inside, a reel of magnetic tape and 1 Polaroid. The Polaroid shows a girl, maybe 12, standing beside a bronze statue of Kim Il-sung. Her eyes are wide, not with reverence, but with something colder. On the back, smudged ink, return to the loud ones. S's breathing quickens. That's my sister. They took the photo the day they assigned her to the loudspeaker office. She operates the switch that kills the city every night. The irony tastes metallic. The same voice ordering curfew might be ordering her own rescue. A dog snarls directly beneath us. We freeze, flat against cold tar. The handler's flashlight beam licks the gutter, misses by inches. If they look up, we're folklore, Jay mutters. S continues, voice trembling. At 2000 hours sharp, she throws the master breaker. Tonight, she's leaving it open an extra heartbeat, long enough for you to punch through the blackout with your upload. But if she's caught, she doesn't finish. The silence says everything. I slot the tape into the portable deck. Magnetic heads hiss like serpents. The file is labeled only Echo. No date, no location. Jay wipes rain from his brow. What's on it? I shrug. Only one way. I hit play. A child's voice floods the channel, singing a lullaby in perfect Pyongyang dialect. But beneath the melody, layered so faint you feel it in your bones, is a grid map recited as GPS coordinates. S gasps. That's her, age 7. They recorded every child in the capital, said it was for archival culture.
She hid the map inside the song.
The plan crystallizes, broadcast the lullaby worldwide, and every coordinate becomes a breadcrumb out of the dark. The loudspeaker, woman's voice, falters for half a second. S whispers, "That's her heartbeat. She just risked everything." My own heart answers in Morse. Upload bar crawls, 1%. Dogs circle back, closer this time. Ugh. A second handler joins, radio crackling with suspicion. Jay clicks his tongue. We need a diversion. He lifts the tin box, now empty, and flings it across the alley. It clangs against corrugated iron like a gunshot. Both dogs bolt after the echo. Upload jumps to 30%. S's voice is almost crying now. She's humming the lullaby aloud in the booth. They'll hear. Tell her to keep humming, I say. Let them think it's patriotism. 70%. A siren wails in the distance. Direction unclear. The night feels thinner, like paper about to tear. 90%. S breathes. She just locked the door from inside. Bought us 2 minutes max. The bravery of that single sentence nearly breaks my composure. Upload complete. The lullaby scatters into the ionosphere, a ghost ship of hope. But the feed doesn't cut. Instead, another voice, male, older, cuts through. This is the loud one she warned you about. Static swallows everything. The dogs return, snouts lifted, catching our scent on the wind. Jay grabs the gear, eyes wide. Time to vanish. We slide down the drainpipe, knees burning. Below, the alley waits like an open mouth. S's final words crackle. Find her before the next curfew. She'll be the one still humming. Then, silence deeper than any blackout. We sprint through puddles that smell of diesel and regret. Somewhere behind us, a girl's lullaby floats from every speaker in Pyongyang, and for one impossible minute, the city forgets to sleep. The van idles at the end of the alley, door already open. We dive in, tires spinning before the latch clicks. As we merge onto the ash road, the tin box, now dented and heroic, rolls across the floor. Empty, yet somehow heavier. I glance at the horizon, where sun and loudspeakers both threaten to rise. Jay whispers, we just gave the past a voice. Now the future has to answer. The radio hisses, alive with distant music. But the next voice we hear isn't S, or her sister, or even the regime. It's a child counting numbers in English. 1, 2, 3. Then the line goes dead. And that, my friend, is where our next chapter begins. The radio crackled once more, then surrendered to silence. That child's voice. 1, 2, 3, still echoed in my skull like a warning. S gripped the wheel tighter, knuckles white against the dashboard's dying glow. We are out of road, she muttered. Time to walk where even headlights fear to go. We abandoned the van where the trees grew too thick for comfort. The air tasted of rust and pine needles. Jay pulled 3 worn work permits from his jacket, coal miner credentials, complete with our faces poorly pasted over strangers. These cost more than my first car, he whispered, handing them out like death sentences we'd chosen to sign. The freight yard sprawled before us like a sleeping beast. Dozens of coal cars sat motionless, their bellies black with North Korean and Kath. Yeah. Somewhere in that maze, our train waited. No schedules, no announcements, just a rumor passed from one desperate mouth to another. Car 7, Ez breathed. Look for the red chalk mark. We moved like ghosts between the rails. Every footstep crunched on coal dust that had witnessed decades of silent departures. The temperature dropped 10 degrees near the cars, something about the way metal holds cold like memory. Then I saw it, that red X, scrawled by someone who'd probably never seen red in their life until now. The door groaned open on hinges that sounded like they hadn't forgiven anyone in years. Inside, darkness pressed against us like a living thing, but it wasn't empty. Shapes shifted in the black. Dozens of them, maybe hundreds. The heat hit next, human warmth packed tighter than any coal shipment. An old miner pressed an apple into my hand without a word. It was small, misshapen, probably grown in someone's secret garden, but here it felt like a crown jewel. From Hamgyung, he whispered, then retreated into shadow. The apple tasted of smoke and something I couldn't name. Maybe hope, maybe just desperation. The story started like dripping water. Excuse me. One voice, then another, until the whole car hummed with forbidden words. A woman spoke of villages where they'd run out of everything except each other. They say the hunger got so bad, she murmured, that mothers would trade their children for sacks of rice, then cry when the rice ran out. Nobody laughed. Nobody could. Someone had a heat sensor, smuggled tech that could see what eyes couldn't. The screen showed our car in reds and oranges, but it wasn't just us. The coal cars ahead and behind glowed the same colors, packed human cargo hidden beneath black rock, a train of ghosts riding rails that didn't officially exist. The train lurched without warning. No whistle, no announcement, just the sudden weight of movement that threw us against each other. In that moment, pressed between strangers who'd become accomplices, I understood something. Clear's throat. We weren't just passengers. We were contraband, same as the coal, same as the apples, same as the stories. Hours passed like years. Someone sang, soft, barely audible, a lullaby their grandmother had taught them. The melody carried through the car like smoke, finding every ear that needed it. My daughter knew this one, the singer murmured, before the famine took her. The temperature dropped suddenly. Not cold, something worse. The kind of chill that comes from passing places where too many people have died too quietly. The old miner grabbed my wrist. We're near the border, he hissed. If they stop us here... He didn't finish. He didn't need to. Then came the sound. Not the train this time. Something mechanical, angry. Searchlights swept across the cracks in our walls, like fingers hunting for secrets. Everyone froze, becoming statues carved from coal dust and terror. The apple in my pocket felt like a ticking bomb. The lights passed. But the silence that followed was worse than any alarm, because in that silence, we heard something new. Footsteps on the roof, slow, deliberate, like someone counting the heads beneath the metal. Inspection, someone breathed. They're doing inspection. The footsteps stopped directly above us. For 30 heartbeats, maybe 40, nothing moved. Then a voice, muffled but clear. Car 7's clear. Just coal. Just coal. We were learning to be invisible, learning to be cargo, learning to be something other than human. The train picked up speed. Somewhere ahead, the border waited like a wound that might heal or might kill. The old miner caught my eye. When we stop, he said, don't run. Walk like you belong to the coal. Become the dust. But even as he spoke, I felt the rhythm change. The tracks beneath us shifted, from steel to something else. Wood. No. Worse. We were crossing the bridge now, the one they'd built for cargo only, the one where trains sometimes just disappeared. S grabbed my arm. Listen, she whispered. In the distance, barely audible over the wheels, came that child's voice again. 1, 2, 3, counting in English. But this time, the numbers kept going. 4, 5, 6, each digit a breadcrumb leading somewhere we couldn't see. The train began to slow. Not the gradual deceleration of a scheduled stop, but the jerky hesitation of someone who's lost their nerve. The miners pressed closer, a single organism of fear and hope. "Remember," the old man said, "we're just coal now. Just coal." But as we rolled toward whatever waited in the darkness ahead, that child's voice grew clearer. And I realized it wasn't coming from outside. It was coming from beneath us. From inside the coal itself. Something was counting passengers. Something that knew exactly how many souls rode this train to nowhere. The train shuddered to a stop. Silence fell, so complete it rang. And in that silence, the counting stopped too. But the last number hung in the air like smoke. 17. There were 17 of us in this car. The voice had counted to 17. Then it said, "Whisper, welcome to the border. Choose carefully who you become next." The last number still echoed in my teeth when the door slid open and cold night air poured in like liquid iron. 17. I tasted it, metallic and sour. Then the voice was gone, leaving only the smell of coal and something else, something that reminded me of wet stone after rain. We stepped down onto gravel that crunched too loud. Every footstep sounded like betrayal. M tugged my sleeve, his fingers trembling. 500 meters, he whispered. Then a tower. Every 500. His breath made small clouds that vanished fast, like secrets nobody wanted to keep. S was already moving ahead, her silhouette low against the embankment. She had a piece of charcoal in her fist, the kind they use for school blackboards, and she was drawing on her own thigh, quick, desperate strokes. I almost laughed at the absurdity, mapping our escape on skin that might not make it past sunrise, but the sound caught in my throat like a bone. The first tower rose exactly where M said it would. Its floodlight swept in a lazy circle, slow enough to hypnotize. We pressed flat against the slope, faces in the dirt that smelled of diesel and frost. M started counting under his breath. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. The guard up there was smoking. I could smell the tobacco drifting down like incense for the condemned. 17 seconds between sweeps. Not enough time to run, barely enough to breathe. S scratched another mark on her leg, a tiny X that looked like a kiss. "Blind spot," she breathed. 3 degrees left of the tower base. Her voice was so quiet it might have been my imagination, but imagination doesn't leave charcoal stains.
We moved in fragments. 10 steps, freeze. 10 steps, freeze.
The second tower appeared sooner than expected. Maybe the distance was wrong. Maybe the darkness played tricks. M's counting got faster, panicked. 12 seconds. They're rotating early. Something's wrong. The rig. Hidden in plain sight on our bumper this whole time. Disguised as a broken taillight. A transmitter, probably. Or a tracker. Or both. S saw it first, and her face went white as salt. She didn't say anything, just scraped the charcoal harder against her skin until it broke and left a black streak like a tear. Third tower. This one had dogs. We heard them before we saw them. Low growls that vibrated through the ground into our bones. M's count became a prayer. 8 seconds. 7. 6. My knees shook so hard I thought the gravel could hear. S started mapping faster. Her thigh looked like a battlefield now. Territory gained and lost in black lines. She caught me looking and gave this desperate little smile. Not happy, just teeth and terror. "Every mile," she mouthed. "Eyes on every mile." The fourth tower didn't have lights. That was worse somehow. Darkness watching is more frightening than light. We crept past it like insects, bellies to the earth, while something inside that tower listened to our hearts beating too fast. M's rig started clicking. Soft mechanical sounds, like a clock running backward. He tried to pry it off, but his fingers were numb. The clicking got louder. "It's transmitting," he whispered. "It's been transmitting this whole time." We were 16 now. One had vanished somewhere between the second and third tower. No sound, no struggle, just gone. S added another mark. Not an X, this time, but a circle. A 0. A nothing. The clicking stopped. In the silence, we heard new footsteps. Not ours. These moved with purpose, with rhythm, with authority. S grabbed my hand. Her palm was slick with charcoal and cold sweat. The eyes, she breathed. They're not just on the towers anymore. Behind us, the fifth tower's light found us like a hand on the back of the neck. The footsteps were closer now, not running. They didn't need to run. They knew exactly where we were, how long we'd been there. The rig had told them everything. M looked at the charcoal map on S's leg. Then he looked at the approaching lights. Your map, he said, voice cracking. It's beautiful, but we're not the ones reading it anymore. The footsteps stopped. Somewhere in the darkness, someone else was counting now. Not seconds.
Not steps.
They were counting us, one by one by one. And the last number they said was 16. The footsteps had stopped, but the counting hadn't. 16. That number hung in the air like smoke from a forbidden cigarette. I could still feel the charcoal map burning against my skin. But now we had to move. S grabbed my sleeve, pulling me deeper into the maze of shadows. Market's already started, he breathed. His voice barely disturbed the dust at our feet. The alley twisted like a snake's spine, each turn tighter than the last. I smelled it before I saw it. Rice. Real rice. Not the cornmeal substitute they'd been feeding us for weeks. The scent hit my empty stomach like a physical blow. Mixed with it, something else. Fear, sharp and metallic, coating everything like morning frost. The market of shadows lived between heartbeats. One moment empty, the next alive. Figures emerged from doorways that shouldn't exist, carrying bundles wrapped in new paper. Someone had painted a smiley face on a wall, then scratched it out so violently, the brick underneath showed through. An old woman sat cross-legged behind a cardboard box. Her fingers trembled as she arranged tiny plastic bags. Each one contained maybe 50 grains of rice. One trauma, she whispered, not looking up. One episode for this much. S pulled a USB drive from his sock. I'd never seen one so small, barely larger than a fingernail. He'd hidden it inside a hollowed-out bar of soap for 3 weeks. The woman's eyes lit up, just for a second. Then the fear returned, harder than before. Episode 12, she asked. Her voice cracked like thin ice. The one where they kiss on the beach? S nodded, and she actually smiled. A real smile, the kind that makes your face forget how to be afraid. It lasted maybe 2 seconds. The transaction happened faster than thought. USB for rice. But the rice wasn't for eating, not really. It was currency here, more valuable than the yuan in our pockets. 1 grain could buy silence, 2 could buy passage, 3 might buy tomorrow. A young boy appeared beside me, no older than 10. His t-shirt had holes where Mickey Mouse's face used to be. You have any music? He breathed. American music? My sister's dying for Taylor Swift. I felt my pockets, empty except for the tracker they'd planted on us. The one counting to 16. Somewhere in this maze, someone was watching, counting, waiting for us to make the wrong move. S tugged my sleeve again. We need to go deeper, he said. The real stuff's in the back. Not rice. Information. His eyes darted toward a metal door I hadn't noticed. It looked like every other door, except for the scratch marks around the handle. Hundreds of them. The air changed as we approached. Warmer, charged with something electric and dangerous. The smell of old electronics mixed with something organic. Fear, probably. Always fear. Inside, the market transformed. No more rice here, just screens. Dozens of them, stacked like bricks in a wall. Each one showing fragments of a world we'd only dreamed about. Seoul's skyline, Tokyo's neon, even New York's Times Square, bright enough to burn your retinas. A man with glasses held together by tape sat at the center. His fingers flew across keyboards made from salvaged parts. What do you need? He asked without looking up. News, soap operas, porn. He laughed at his own joke, then stopped abruptly. Actually, he said, I have something better. He pulled out a hard drive wrapped in cloth. Satellite images, recent ones, of the camps up north. His voice dropped to barely a whisper. They know you're here now. All of you. The counting stopped at 16, whisper. The room went still. Even the screen seemed to flicker less. Oh, 16. That number again. But this time nobody was laughing. How long do we have? I asked. My voice sounded like someone else's. Someone who'd already accepted the ending. The man with taped glasses finally looked up. His eyes were older than his face. Long enough to choose, he said. Long enough to decide what matters more, your story or your life. I felt the tracker pulse against my leg. Once, twice, then a third time. Not random pulses anymore. A pattern, Morse code maybe, or just my imagination running toward the only escape it could find. S grabbed the hard drive. His fingers barely closed around it before we heard the sound. Boots. Kuh. Not the random patrols from before. These were synchronized, planned, coming from every direction at once. Market's closing early today, the man said. But it wasn't really laughter. Just the sound your throat makes when it knows the joke's on you. The screens flickered once more, then went dark. All except one. On that last screen, white numbers counted down from 10. Not to 0, to something much worse. The numbers didn't stop. They just kept bleeding down, red on black, like time itself was hemorrhaging. I felt my stomach drop as the countdown hit 7, then 6, then, move. The whisper came from behind me, urgent and sharp. The market's already gone. That was our signal, not to run. No, that would have been too easy. We had to walk, like we belonged, like we weren't about to vanish into the machinery of a state that eats its own. I tucked the recording rig deeper under my coat, feeling its weight like a guilty conscience. The cables had stopped twitching now. They hung limp, exhausted, or maybe just resigned. We turned left at the corner, where the cabbage vendor usually stood. Tonight, his cart was overturned. Cabbages rolled across the pavement like decapitated heads. Faster, someone hissed. I couldn't tell who anymore. In the dark, all whispers sound the same. All footsteps echo with the same dread. We moved through streets that should have been familiar, but felt like someone else's memories. The kind where you know you're dreaming, but the dream doesn't care. That's when we heard it. Clear's throat. Not the countdown. Something worse. The rhythmic thud of boots. Synchronized. Marching. Coming from 3 directions at once. They'd boxed us in without us even knowing it. Funeral, someone whispered. The only way through is with the dead. Even now, the absurdity hits me. We were about to join a funeral procession to escape being killed. The irony would have been delicious if it weren't trying to kill us. The undertaker met us at the side door. No words, just a nod and a gesture toward the back room. The smell hit me first. Formaldehyde and something else. Something sweet and wrong. Roses mixed with rot. Inside, he said, pointing to the largest coffin. Clear's throat. Oak, polished to a mirror shine. Big enough for 2 if you didn't mind being very, very close. I minded, but I climbed in anyway. The rig went first. Tucked against the padded side like a mechanical tumor. Then me. Then my partner. Someone I'd known for 3 days and would now die next to if this went wrong. The lid came down with a sound like finality itself. Darkness, complete and absolute. Hello, darkness, my old friend. But the darkness wasn't listening. The darkness was busy being loaded onto something. A truck? A hearse? In the dark, everything feels like a hearse. The rig hummed to life. I'd forgotten it could do that. Switched to passive recording when it detected external sound. Now it listened to everything we couldn't. The muffled sobs of real mourners. The shuffle of feet that might be ours or might be theirs. The metallic click of rifles being checked. We rolled forward, stopped, rolled again. Each movement sent my stomach into my throat. Each stop felt like the last one. This is it. This is where they find us. But they didn't. Not yet. The checkpoint loomed ahead. I could feel it before I heard it. That particular stillness that comes when everyone holds their breath at once. The rig picked up voices. Sharp, demanding. Papers being checked. Coffins being opened. Next, the word cut through everything. Through the wood, through my chest, through time itself. They say your life flashes before your eyes. Mine didn't. It just sat there, heavy and useless, like a stone in my pocket. The vehicle stopped. Boots approached. So many boots. The rig's red light pulsed faster now, like a dying heart. Please, please, please. I didn't even know what I was begging for anymore. Metal scraped against metal. The latch. They were opening it. I closed my eyes, even though it made no difference in the dark. Waited for the light. Waited for the shout. Waited for nothing. The lid stayed closed. A miracle? Or just bureaucracy moving at the speed of bureaucracy? The vehicle rolled forward again, past the checkpoint, into whatever came next. But here's the thing about miracles. They don't last. They never last. The rig picked up something new. Not boots, not voices, something mechanical. The sound of a lock being engaged, from the outside. We weren't escaping. We were being delivered. Somewhere specific, somewhere planned. The funeral wasn't our cover story. It was our destination. The rig kept recording, even when we can't. Every turn, every stop, every sound of civilization falling away behind us. We're still moving, still breathing, still waiting. But for how long? The question hangs in the dark like smoke. Like the last breath you'll ever take. Because the thing about North Korea isn't that it's dark. It's that the dark has teeth. And we're still rolling. Still rolling. The ditch is colder than any grave I've ever imagined. My knees sink into frozen mud, the kind that clings like regret, and every heartbeat feels like a drum the guards might hear. The satellite phone, no bigger than a pack of cigarettes, rests on my palm like a live coal. One bar, one chance, one confession to the sky. I whisper the password 3 times, the syllables tasting like rust and adrenaline. Echo, November, star. Echo, November, star. The LED flips from red to green, and for the first time in days, I dare to breathe. It's a thin laugh, the kind that scrapes your throat raw, because we both know breathing is temporary. The satellite is already sliding overhead, a silent judge in a robe of starlight. I have 47 seconds before it drops below the horizon. 47 heartbeats to name the unnameable. I tap the coordinates into the keypad, thumbs shaking so hard I missed the decimal twice. Each number is a nail in someone's coffin. Maybe mine, maybe the prisoner's I've never met. Latitude 39.6, longitude 127.2. The screen blinks, then spits back a single word. Confirm. Confirmation is a luxury I can't afford, yet here we are bargaining with the void. I jam the enter key. A soft chirrup, like a cricket dying, and the data packet shoots upward in a burst of encrypted light. My body goes slack, relief and terror braided so tight I can't tell which is which. Somewhere above, a thermal eye pivots, focuses, and begins to see what no human should ever have to see. The map blooms open on my wrist monitor, a ghostly rectangle of heat signatures. At first it looks like static, just noise, just hope playing tricks. Then the pixels resolve into rows. Perfect rectangular rows, cells. Each red dot a living body, each orange haze a breath against concrete. I count them because I can't stop myself. 193. No, wait, 207. The number keeps climbing as the satellite refines its gaze. I feel my stomach fold in on itself. These aren't soldiers. They're too still for that. They're prisoners packed underground, stacked like kindling, kept warm only by their own despair. The laugh turns into a retch, bitter and silent. 207 souls, buried alive under a mountain we call Mount Pektu. A new color appears on the map, deep indigo, so cold it looks black. The outline of a tunnel, slanting downward at a cruel angle. My finger traces it instinctively, as if I could reach through the screen and pull them out. The tunnel ends in a chamber the size of a school gym, and every inch of it is crimson. No gaps, no walkways, just bodies breathing each other's carbon dioxide. I taste bile and iron. The LED on the satellite phone flickers, warning me the window is closing. I have seconds left to append a note, a plea, anything that might make the world care. I type, confirm alive, immediate extraction impossible, relay to allies. I hit send, and the screen dies to black. It's the sound of a door slamming on 207 lives. I bury the phone under a rock because carrying it is a death sentence now. The ditch feels deeper, walls closing like a jaw. Somewhere downhill, a dog barks, sharp and mechanical, the kind of bark that's followed by flashlight beams. I freeze, counting heartbeats again, but the night swallows the sound and gives nothing back. I crawl west, knees grinding through thorns. Every rustle of dead grass sounds like a siren. My mind replays the thermal map like a curse, those red dots pulsing behind my eyelids. 207. 207. The number becomes a chant, a rosary of guilt I'll carry till I'm the one glowing red on some distant screen. The wind shifts, carrying diesel and boiled cabbage from a guard post I can't see. I flatten myself, cheek against ice, tasting earth and my own fear. My watch ticks loud in the silence, each second a reminder that the satellite has already moved on, already beaming my confession to a server in a country I've never visited. I imagine analysts sipping coffee, enlarging the red rectangle, pausing to wipe their mouths. Maybe one of them will dream of tunnels tonight. Maybe that's the best I can hope. A flare arcs overhead, green and obscene. It hangs for 3 eternal seconds, lighting the ditch like a surgeon's lamp. I press my face into the muck, praying the shadows still remember my name. The light dies, but the afterimage burns. Rows of red dots, endless and perfect, stamped onto the inside of my skull. I start moving again, slower now, because running is what prey does right before the teeth close. The forest line is maybe 300 steps away. A black curtain I might slip behind. But every step feels like betrayal, like leaving 207 echoes to freeze in their concrete wombs. I tell myself survival is the only tribute I can pay them. It tastes like the lie it is. Behind me, a motor coughs to life. Not a truck. Something smaller, an ATV maybe, the kind they use for night patrols. The beam sweeps left, right, then locks onto my footprints like a predator's gaze. I can almost hear the radio crackle. Target acquired. Not yet, please, not yet. I roll into a culvert, half filled with stagnant water, the cold so sudden it knocks the air from my lungs. The engine noise swells, then pauses, idling. Someone lights a cigarette. The cherry glows like a tiny red dot on a thermal map. I count the seconds between their breaths, matching them to the phantom heartbeats I left in that underground cell. 1 Mississippi. 2 Mississippi. The irony tastes like tobacco and rust. A second voice calls out, words muffled by wind and fear, but the tone is unmistakable. Boredom. They haven't seen me. Not yet. The engine revs, then fades east, chasing shadows I no longer cast. I wait 5 full minutes before I dare to breathe again, and even then it's shallow, like the earth might still be listening. When I crawl out, the sky has shifted, constellations rearranged by the slow grind of planets. Somewhere up there, the satellite is arcing over the Pacific, my confession tucked in its metallic heart. I whisper thanks to a machine that will never know my name. Thank you for seeing them.
Thank you for remembering.
It's the closest thing to prayer I have left. I take 1 step toward the trees, then another, each footfall lighter than the last. The red dots fade from my vision, replaced by the black promise of escape. But beneath my ribs, a new heat blooms. Not hope exactly, but something that rhymes with it. Because somewhere, in a server farm, the map is spreading. Somewhere, people are waking up to the color of blood on a black and white screen. And maybe, just maybe, the dark will have to answer for its teeth. The wind carries another sound now, distant rotors, chopping the night like knives. Search helicopters. They're sweeping the valley, following the same satellite footprint I used to save those lives. I realize the confession that freed them might still bury me.
The irony is so perfect it hurts to laugh, so I do it anyway, soft and broken.
I slip between the pines, needles brushing my face like forgiving fingers. Keep walking, keep breathing, keep remembering. The map is out there now, pulsing on screens I'll never see, and as the helicopters grow louder, I realize I'm no longer the only witness. The world is watching, the world is finally watching, but I'm still in the dark, still hunted, still rolling. And somewhere ahead, beyond these trees, another checkpoint waits. I don't know if I'll make it through. I only know I have to try. Because the thing about North Korea isn't just that the dark has teeth. It's that sometimes, if you're stupid enough, brave enough, desperate enough, you can make the dark bleed. And I'm still moving. The trees thin out like old men losing hair, and suddenly the ground drops into a shallow valley. I smell diesel and rust before I see it. There it is, a single radio tower, taller than anything for miles, standing crooked but proud against the bruised sky. It looks like someone planted a giant tuning fork and forgot to pull it back out. Jay taps my shoulder. That's our last relay point, he whispers, voice barely louder than the wind. I nod, but my stomach knots tighter than the barbed wire we just crawled under. Because this tower isn't just metal and bolts. It's a mouthpiece. Every dawn it spits out loyalty songs so loud the valley itself hums the chorus. And tonight, we're going to make it sing something else. We move low, boots crunching frost. The tower's legs are painted red once, now flaked to orange scabs. I taste iron in the air, maybe blood from my own lip where I bit down too hard. Nerves, man. They turn you into a cannibal of your own mouth. A single bulb blinks at the summit, pulsing like a dying heartbeat. Jay checks the relay pack, black plastic brick with a stubby antenna. Once I clamp this baby, we've got 15 minutes before the signal bounces to Seoul, he says. 15 minutes before they know we're still breathing. I give him a thumbs up I don't feel. Heights and I divorced years ago. The tower ladder starts 20 feet up, a gap designed to stop casual climbers. Jay loops a rope around the first beam, tests his weight, then begins the spider dance upward. I follow, fingers numb, each rung colder than the last. Halfway, the wind finds us. It moans through the lattice like a choir of ghosts learning harmony.
My earpiece crackles. Static. Then a distant voice speaking Korean so clipped it sounds like gunfire.
Jay freezes. That's the midnight loyalty chant, he whispers. Oh, they're early. Below us, a convoy of headlights snakes along the valley road. Military trucks, maybe 6, moving fast. If they look up, we're silhouettes on a silver platter. Jay curses under his breath and climbs faster. The top platform is no bigger than a dinner table, swaying like a drunk. I cling to a beam while Jay unhooks the relay. His hands shake. Cold or fear. Same temperature. He clamps the device to the transmission line, twists a dial. A soft green LED winks awake. Suddenly, the tower itself speaks. Not through our device, through its own ancient speakers bolted to the frame.
A woman's voice, saccharine and loud.
Our dear Marshal guides us through every storm. The chant loops, echoing off the valley walls like sonic graffiti. Jay rolls his eyes. She's off key tonight. The green LED turns amber. Uploading, Jay mutters. 10 minutes left. We're cutting it close enough to shave bone. A new sound cuts the wind. Rotor blades. Blackout patrol. Jay's face drains white. They're sniffing for rogue signals. If they triangulate us, this tower becomes our tombstone. I grip the railing, knuckles bone white. The LED flips green again. Upload complete. Jay yanks the relay free, clips it to his belt. Time to ghost, he says. I wish ghosts had to climb down ladders. We descend faster than gravity allows, half sliding, half falling. My boot slips. Metal screams against metal. The searchlight swings toward us like a lazy eye waking up. We hit the ground hard, knees buckling. The convoy is closer now, engines growling. Jay grabs my sleeve. Run diagonal, use the slope. We sprint, lungs burning, relay thumping against my ribs. Behind us, the tower keeps singing, but something's different. Under the marshal's voice, a second track bleeds through. Static, then fragments of our own broadcast. This is not propaganda. This is the sound of people who remember how to hope. The dark is bleeding after all. We reach the tree line as the first shots crack. Not at us, yet. Warning shots, maybe. Jay grins, teeth bright in the dark.
They just heard freedom in surround sound.
I want to laugh with him, but my breath is a hurricane trapped in my chest. Somewhere above, the tower keeps swaying, now a double agent in its own country. I glance at Jay. Next checkpoint? He nods. Subway tunnel, 3 miles north. We melt into the forest, boots silent on pine needles. Behind us, the last broadcast fades, replaced by confused shouts and more gunfire. But the relay is safe. Our 15 minutes are ticking. I touch the warm brick in my pocket. It weighs nothing and everything. Ahead, the tunnel waits like a throat ready to swallow us. And somewhere beyond that, the Blackout Core pulses, a heart we still have to stop. We run. And as the trees close behind us, I swear I hear the tower one last time. Not chanting, but whispering my name like a promise. The snow stops crunching under our boots the moment we reach the tunnel mouth, as if the world itself is holding its breath. I can feel M's hesitation through the sleeve of my jacket, her fingers tightening around my wrist like a warning. The darkness ahead isn't just absence of light, it's something alive, something that eats sound and spits out silence. Remember, she whispers, her voice barely a thread in the void. When the lights die, don't trust your eyes. The words taste like metal in my mouth, sharp and coppery with fear. I nod, though I know she can't see me, and we step forward into the throat of Pyongyang. The tunnel stretches longer than any map suggested, its walls sweating with condensation that drips like slow tears. Our footsteps echo back at us in fragments, like memories trying to catch up. I count them. 1, 2, 3, until M squeezes my arm again. Stop, she breathes, and I feel it too, the temperature dropping so fast my teeth start chattering like castanets. Then everything ends. Not gradually, not with the slow fade of a dying bulb, but like someone flipped a switch labeled existence. The kind of dark that makes you question whether you ever had eyes to begin with. M's grip becomes my only anchor to reality, her pulse racing against my wrist like a trapped bird. Thermal, she whispers, and I fumble for the device in my pocket. The screen flickers to life, painting the world in shades of predator and prey. Through the green haze, I see them dozens of heat signatures frozen in place like statues made of fire. Guards, civilians, children, all caught mid-step, mid-breath, mid-thought. Don't move. M's voice is so quiet, I feel it more than hear it. The Blackout Core doesn't just kill the lights, it stops time for everyone except us. I watch a guard's heat signature, his rifle raised in eternal aim, and realize we're walking through a photograph of violence waiting to happen. The air tastes like copper and ozone, like the moment before lightning strikes. We creep forward, threading between the frozen souls like dancers navigating a minefield. Each step feels like stealing time from the dead. M stops suddenly, her hand going rigid in mine. Through the screen, I see it, the Blackout Core itself, pulsing like a mechanical heart in the center of what used to be Kim Il-sung Square. It's beautiful in the way that weapons are beautiful. Sleek, purposeful, terrible. The device towers 3 stories high, its surface rippling with heat signatures that make my eyes water even through the screen. This is where instinct ends, M whispers, and for the first time, I hear fear in her voice. Not the sharp edge of adrenaline, but the dull weight of acceptance. I reach for the relay device in my pocket, but my fingers find only empty fabric. The LED that should be dark is glowing faint red, our signal that someone, somewhere, is already listening. They're early, I breathe, and M's thermal signature flares brighter with panic. The Blackout Core begins to hum, a sound that exists somewhere between a lullaby and a scream. The frozen figures around us start to flicker, their heat signatures wavering like candle flames in wind. It's cycling, M gasps, pulling me toward the core's base. When it finishes, everyone moves again. We have 30 seconds. I fumble with the relay, my fingers numb with more than cold. The device clicks as I attach it to the core's surface, magnetic locks engaging with a sound like bones settling. M's counting under her breath. 28, 27, 26, and each number feels like a nail in our coffin. Wait, she whispers, her voice cracking like ice. Look. Through the screen, I see something impossible. A third heat signature moving between the frozen guards, fluid and purposeful. Not frozen like the others, but walking, searching, hunting. The relay device chirps once, our signal transmitted, our mission complete. But the moving figure is closer now, close enough that I can see the distinctive heat signature of a rifle scope trained directly on us. M, I start, but she's already moving, pulling me toward an access hatch I hadn't seen. The humming reaches a crescendo, and I know we're out of time. As we dive through the hatch, I catch one last glimpse of the moving figure, tall, deliberate, wearing the heat signature of someone who belongs in the Blackout Core's frozen world. The hatch seals behind us, with a sound like the world ending, and in the absolute darkness of the core's belly, I hear M breathing words that chill me more than any North Korean winter. That wasn't a guard, she whispers. That was someone like us. And then the lights come back on, and we realize we've been running toward the wrong kind of salvation all along. The moment the lights stutter back to life, I realize M is right. We're not in some guard post anymore. We're somewhere else entirely. Somewhere the regime doesn't want anyone to find. M grabs my sleeve, her fingers trembling. Listen, she whispers, and that's when I hear it. A sound that doesn't belong in any North Korean facility I've ever known. It's breathing, not mechanical, human, labored. The tunnel stretches before us like a throat swallowing light. Every few meters, another emergency bulb flickers, casting shadows that dance like they're trying to tell us something or warn us away. Who's there? I call out, my voice cracking in ways I didn't expect. The breathing stops. For a moment, the only sound is my own heart hammering against my ribs, like it wants to escape this place too. Then a voice emerges from the shadows. Not Korean, not exactly. Something else entirely. You're early, it says, and there's a quality to it that makes my skin crawl, like someone speaking through layers of memory and regret. The figure steps forward, and I see it's a woman, or what used to be one. Her lab coat hangs in strips, stained with things I don't want to identify. She's been down here a long time. I've been recording, she says, holding up what looks like an old cassette recorder. Every day, every experiment, every failure. She laughs, but it's the kind of laugh that comes from someone who's forgotten what joy feels like. 3,412 days, she continues, running her fingers along the wall. That's how long since they sealed us in, since the last natural sunrise. M steps closer, her voice steady despite everything. What do you mean, sealed us in? Who else is down here? The scientist, Dr. Lim, she says her name is, gestures down the tunnel. The adapted, the ones who survived the recalibration. We're the control group that became the experiment. She hands me a notebook, its pages yellowed and brittle. The writing is cramped, desperate. Circadian rhythm modification protocols, light deprivation schedules, notes about subjects who stopped dreaming entirely after 90 days. They wanted soldiers who could fight for days without rest, she says. Workers who could maintain productivity regardless of day or night. But they got something else. Dr. Lim leads us deeper into the tunnel system. The air grows colder, heavier. I can taste metal on my tongue, like the darkness itself is bleeding. Every 12 hours, the speakers would play sounds, she explains. Not music, not words, just frequencies designed to reset our internal clocks. They called it the Iron Veil Protocol. We pass alcove after alcove, in each one, shapes that might be people, or used to be. They don't move when we pass. They don't seem to breathe. The archives are this way, Dr. Lim says, if you want to understand what they did to us, what they might do to you. She produces a key from somewhere inside her coat. It's not a normal key, more like a tuning fork, humming with some frequency I can feel in my bones. The room beyond the door is lined with binders, thousands of them, each one a life rewritten, each one a circadian rhythm destroyed and rebuilt. Your faces, she says, showing us photographs. They've been watching you since Pyongyang, since before you even knew you were coming here. M backs away, but Dr. Lim catches her wrist. You can't leave now. The adaptation has already begun. Can't you feel it? The way time is starting to slip? I look at my own hands and realize she's right. There's something wrong with my heartbeat. Too slow, too regular, like it's following a rhythm that isn't mine. The veil is opening, Dr. Lim whispers. And once it takes you, there's no going back to normal time. The strobing lights intensify. M grabs my arm, her eyes wide with something between terror and understanding. We need to run, she says, now. But Dr. Lim is already moving toward the darkness, her voice echoing back to us. Running won't matter. The veil doesn't care about direction, only about timing. And that's when we hear it. A sound like breathing, but from everywhere at once. The tunnel itself is alive, and it's been waiting for us. The last thing I see before the blue light swallows everything is Dr. Lim's face, transformed by the glow into something that might never have been human. Clears throat. Welcome to the real experiment, she says. The recorder clicks off, but the experiment is just beginning. The recorder clicks back on, 17 minutes before sunrise, and every second feels like a detonation waiting to happen. I can still taste the metallic tang of that tunnel light on my tongue, as if Dr. Lim rewrote my DNA with nothing more than a glance. I press the rig against my chest, the sphere camera's glass eye already warm from overuse. Its red recording diode blinks like a dying heartbeat. If the rumors are true, one of those blinks is already compromised. Switch to channel Delta, I whisper into the collar mic, hoping the static will hide the tremor in my voice. The reply comes too fast, too calm. Someone is listening who shouldn't be. The tram arrives with a reluctant groan, a relic from the 70s wrapped in new propaganda paint. Its doors slide open like an iron jaw. I step inside, feeling every rivet in the floor through my worn boots. There are 4 cameras bolted to the ceiling, but only 3 of them are official. The 4th is ours, a sleek black parasite feeding power from the tram's own grid. I give it a nod, the silent promise that we're still in this together. The doors seal and the countdown starts in my head. 17 minutes minus the 30 seconds it takes the tram to lurch forward. That leaves 16 and a half to transmit 360 degrees of forbidden truth. Outside, the city is pretending to sleep, but the streetlights blink in an irregular rhythm, Morse code for the ones who know how to read fear. One sequence spells, betrayer. I pretend I didn't see it. My reflection looks like a ghost already, hood up, eyes hollow, the rig glowing faintly beneath my jacket. I look like someone who has watched too many endings and still hopes for a different one. The transmitter warms against my ribs. It needs line of sight to the satellite window we paid for in blood and Bitcoin. Clears throat. The tram's route is a straight shot across the river, then a slow curve through the industrial zone. Perfect, if the sky stays empty. I glance at the ceiling camera. Its red diode winks once, our signal that the data burst is ready. Ready, but not yet sent. First, we have to move, and moving means trusting the rails laid by people who would rather see us erased. The wheels screech like tortured metal. Somewhere inside that sound is a voice I used to trust. Dr. Lim, maybe, or the version of her that still pretends to be human. Abort if the light turns amber, She warned me yesterday, or was it tomorrow? Time folds here.
I grip the overhead rail, knuckles white. The tram accelerates past the first checkpoint. 2 guards wave without looking up. They've been paid to see nothing.
Money works the same in every dictatorship, only the currency of silence changes. The rig vibrates, upload at 42%. The sphere's stitching its last panoramic seam, the algorithm racing against sunrise like a dying star. If it fails, we become just another cautionary tale told in hushed dorm rooms. I angle my body to shield the light. A woman at the far end of the car stares, eyes too sharp. She clutches a canvas bag like it holds her own escape plan. Maybe it does. The tram rounds the bend. The industrial zone looms. Smokestacks black against the bruised sky. Chimneys coughing slow coils of ash. That ash is part of the story, too. Particles of erased villages floating back to haunt the capital. Transmission jumps to 68%. The satellite window opens in 90 seconds, but the tram's slowing for an unscheduled stop. The driver's voice crackles over the intercom, calm yet wrong, like a lullaby with teeth. "Mechanical fault," he says. I know the code. It means they're boarding. I slide the rig behind my back, heart hammering louder than the tram's motors. Boots echo on metal outside. 2 sets, maybe 3. The woman with the bag meets my eyes and gives the slightest shake of her head. She knows. She's known longer than I have. Upload at 79%. The doors hiss open and cold air rushes in, carrying the scent of diesel and fear. I almost welcome it. At least fear is honest.
The lead guard scans faces.
Eyes pausing on mine, just long enough to confirm suspicion. Behind him, the second soldier holds a tablet that mirrors my transmitter's exact frequency. They're already inside our channel. The woman stands abruptly, bag swinging. She walks straight toward the soldiers, blocking their view. A living shield made of nothing but courage and desperation. Upload hits 91%. The sphere pulses once, twice, like a final heartbeat. I thumb the trigger, sending the last encrypted packet skyward, but the signal flickers. Jammed. Run on my mark, the woman whispers without turning. Her voice is steady, terrifyingly so. I nod, even though she can't see it. She drops the bag. Out spill hundreds of paper cranes, each folded from propaganda leaflets, a flock of tiny rebellions taking flight. The soldiers freeze, mesmerized by the sudden beauty. That's the mark. I yank the emergency lever, the door bursts open onto the frozen rails. Cold bites my lungs as I leap, rig clutched like a newborn. Behind me, the tram lights flicker, the jamming field wavers, and the upload lurches to 99%. One heartbeat from freedom, one footstep from capture. I sprint along the embankment, lungs burning, sunrise bleeding gold across the horizon. The sphere in my arms gives one last pulse. Complete. We did it. We actually did it. Then the sky splits open with the whine of pursuit drones. Their searchlights sweep the snow like hungry fingers. I glance back at the tram, now shrinking, doors still open, cranes swirling in the draft like white ghosts. The woman's face appears in the doorway for an instant. No smile, just a nod. She mouths something I can't hear over the rotors. I think it's, remember. I turn toward the tree line, heart hammering, data safe, but body far from it. 17 minutes before sunrise, and now the countdown starts again. How long can I outrun the dawn? I break from the tree line, with the drive clenched against my ribs, boots sliding on frost that feels like powdered glass. 17 minutes, she said, but the sky is already blushing violet, and I can taste metal in the wind. The border is a rumor until it isn't. I thumb the transmitter. Nothing but the hiss of dead air. White noise, thick as snow. The last frame we sent was her silhouette, cranes dissolving into static. I whisper the word she mouthed, remember, and the syllables feel heavier than lead. Static answers, then a single ping, one satellite handshake before the signal collapses into silence. I know the protocol. Burn the route, salt the names, leave only the story. I almost press it. Almost erase myself to keep them safe. But the cranes keep circling in my head, paper wings beating against my skull. The ground trembles. Distant engines. Searchlights sweep the valley like lighthouse beams hunting ghosts. I drop flat, cheek to ice, tasting earth and fear. The drive presses against my sternum. A second heartbeat. Minutes stretch like taffy. Somewhere behind me, the tram is probably already ash. Cranes torch to keep the secret. I hope she made it out the other end. The border fence rears up, taller than nightmares, crowned with watchtowers blacker than the sky. No gate in sight, just a slit of darkness between two worlds. I crawl on elbows, pack dragging, until my fingers find the seam. Corrugated tin peeled back by some earlier ghost. Even escape routes are recycled here. I squeeze through, cloth snagging, skin burning. On the far side, the air smells different, like wet clay instead of fear. But the silence is the same. 25 million voices still wrapped in the same blackout. I stand, legs shaking, and realize the transmitter is still warm. One last chance to speak before the sun betrays me. I draw a breath at the taste of pine and gunpowder. If anyone hears this, I begin. Remember the cranes. The sky cracks open, first gold spilling over the hills like spilled coins. No drones yet, but I feel them coming. I press send. A single packet jumps skyward, compressed, encrypted, lighter than paper. It carries every face I dared not film. The device dies in my hand, screen going black like a closed eye. Goodbye to circuits and courage. I pocket the empty shell and start walking south, boots sinking into mud that hasn't frozen yet. Behind me, the veil remains, stitched tight with silence. Every kilometer feels like peeling a layer of skin. I rehearse the names under my breath so I won't forget. Morning birds begin, tentative chirps testing the new day. Ordinary music after so much engineered quiet. I reach a stream, water singing over stones, and I wash the grime from my face. The cold bites, but it's honest pain. In the reflection, I don't see a hero, just a man carrying 25 million borrowed stories. And that is enough. A farmer's truck rattles past, wheels spitting gravel. He doesn't stop. Nobody stops near the line. I keep walking until the hills soften and the first village appears. Chimneys puffing breakfast smoke. The scent of rice drags tears I didn't order. I find a payphone outside a shuttered store, lift the receiver, hear a dial tone like a miracle. I dial the memorized number. One ring, two, then a kick. Not voice, just open line. Package delivered, I whisper, and hang up. The line goes dead, mission complete. Names erased, route salted. But the cranes keep flying inside my eyelids. I buy tea from a street vendor, hand shaking around the paper cup. Steam fogs my glasses. For once, I welcome the blur. An old woman watches me, eyes sharp yet kind. She nods once, as if she knows. Maybe she does. I leave the cup half full, a silent toast to those still north of the wire. May they taste tomorrow. The road south unspools like film, each frame a little brighter. I walk until my shadow points home. At sunset, I reach the sea, waves applauding against rocks. Salt replaces gunpowder on my tongue. I open the dead radio, remove the memory shard, and fling it far into the water. Let the tides archive what humans cannot. The splash is swallowed by surf, and just like that, the proof is gone. Only story remains. I sit on the sand, shoes off, feeling the planet spin beneath me. Somewhere behind, the veil still covers 25 million beating hearts. I promise them the only thing I can. I will speak, and keep speaking, until silence itself is ashamed. Because memory is a crane that never lands. It just keeps flying, folding the world into wings. And as long as one person remembers, the veil can never be complete. The blackout ends where stories begin.